Hi, everybody. It's good to see you again. You're probably wondering, so I'm filming this at night? And the answer is yes. Reverend Larry asked me to fill in for her and take care of a Sunday. And we're having power outages here in Oregon. And so the power's up now, and I thought I would do my best to record this sermon for her. So I'm doing something a little different today. How many of you have heard about Florence Scovel Shinn? Now, in the New Thought circles, we talk a lot about Emma Curtis Hopkins, Ernest Holmes, Charles Fillmore, and so on. But in her day, Ms. Shinn was perhaps more well regarded as a popular and practical New Thought author, teacher, and lecturer. And so I thought today I'd share a little bit from her book, The Real Game of Life. Now, an interesting thing about this particular book, it has been in continual print for over 120 years. So, still well regarded. It may be written a little bit in that professorial style of the last century, but still a great little book that I recommend. Well, let me start by just quoting something from the book. She says, most people consider life a battle, but it's not a battle, it's a game. It is a game, however, which cannot be played successfully without the knowledge of spiritual law. And so today, well, tonight for me, we'll be talking a little bit about spiritual law and this idea of treating life a little more playfully, a little bit more like it's a game instead of a struggle. So, my question is from the get go, how do you view life? Is it a game or is it a struggle? Do you find yourself at odds with life more often, or do you feel life going your way more often? Now, you might tend to think this isn't your choice, it's what life delivers to you. But Shin would say, not entirely. That it's as much about what you put into life and how you perceive it as to what life delivers to you. So when things are going our way, when we're in the groove at work or doing a hobby, it's so easy to see life responding to us. On those days, we might see it as a game. But when life is going troublesome, when it's restrictive, when our moves are blocked, when life presents itself as a drudgery, then we see it as a struggle, right? Well, Scoville Smith says, not so much. What if I were to tell you that it's all in your perception? What if I were to tell you that the only reason that sometimes it feels like a struggle is because you haven't learned the rules of the game yet? Remember in the introduction there, she talked about it being a struggle if you don't understand spiritual principles. So as you play any game, you have to learn what the rules are if you want to be successful. And that's true from games of our childhood right up until now. The game of life has rules and you need to learn them. So, what are the rules? Well, life is governed by spiritual laws. She already said that. And she goes on to give some more details about those rules. Life responds to our thinking and our beliefs. If we want clear responses, we have to have clean inputs. And we need to remove thoughts and ideas that are counter to our desired outcome. So let's go over those three just a little bit more. So life is governed by spiritual laws. Life responds to our thinking and beliefs. Well, now that sounds a lot like science of mind, right? And Ernest Holmes, of course, was trained in this tradition. So it's not surprising that our thoughts and our beliefs shape our impression of life. And so, if we cultivate thoughts and ideas of love and light, of joy and peace, well, then we can expect to see more love and light and joy and peace in our life. If we cultivate thoughts of lack or worry, if we respond to the world in a way so that our thoughts are clouded by lack and worry, unfortunately, that will tend to promote more things for us to be worried about, more trouble in our lives. And so you can see that this is up to us, but it's not always easy, right? When things go wrong, it so often feels like we're the victim. It so often feels like life is not under our control. And so Shinn's teaching, well, and that of most New Thought authors, including Ernest Holmes, our founder, would be, yeah, we need to work on that. We need to cultivate our thoughts. We need to begin reshaping our ideas more towards the positive. Life responds to our thinking and our beliefs. The next thing that she says, clear responses require clear inputs. We need to have clarity on what we want in order to achieve it. Let me say that one more time. We need to have clarity on what we want. Do you have clarity on what you want? I go through life talking to a great many people, and more often than not, I hear from them what they don't want life to be. They don't want life to be like their current job. They don't want life to be like the relationship that they have with their current partner. They don't want life to be in poverty or in whatever city they're living in. They don't want life there. They're really clear on what they don't want. But if we have clarity instead on what we do want, then life can respond to that. So I would ask you, do you have clarity on what you want for your life? Have you set up a mental equivalent on what you do want? It would be a great New Year's habit every year to set down on paper what exactly it is you do want to experience that year. What will the joy feel like? What will the accomplishments be like? What's your measure of success? What is it that truly would make your heart sing? And clarity around it, right? Not just that you want it, but what would it feel like? What would the elements of success be? What would a better relationship really feel like? So that's the idea of clear responses require clear inputs. If we have clear inputs, God will respond with equal clarity. And then the third of those tips that she had, we need to remove thoughts and ideas that are counter to our desired income. Well, that's really straightforward. We can't have our mind filled up with negativity if we want to expect to have a positive life. Okay, so let's start with one of the spiritual laws that she talks about in the very first chapter in the book, and I'm sure you'll be interested in it. It's the law of prosperity. And again, it has a set of rules. They're really straightforward, though. And the law of prosperity is diving into that area of clear responses require clean inputs. So if you want to experience more prosperity, you have to be really clear about what prosperity would mean to you. You have to be willing to see yourself as prosperous. You will get what you are prepared to get. So you need to be prepared for prosperity. It's interesting. I've been, of course, seeing clients off and on for many years. And I remember someone came to me explaining that they were having trouble with prosperity in their life. And so we did a little work around it. I created some affirmations for this person to say, and we did some prayer work. And I saw her a few months later. And gosh, if anything, there was less prosperity in our life. And so I had to really do a detailed list of what makes up a prosperous person. And my idea was, well, let's shake out some of her thoughts about what prosperity could look like in her life. And so we spent about some time on that, and she went away. And 3 months later, she was desperate. And I said, well, okay, I thought we've done a good job on this. I don't really understand why your prosperity isn't improving any. And I said, so what would it be like if you were a rich person? And she said, oh, well, that's kind of hard to imagine. I think most rich people are awful. And I went, oh my gosh, there's it, of course. How can you ever imagine yourself being wealthy if you despise rich people? You would be, in a sense, saying, well, I'm going to despise myself. So, of course, that can't work. So we had to really spend some time on talking about why it's okay to be rich, why rich people can be virtuous and wonderful and great philanthropists, why we shouldn't be suspicious of rich people. And it took a lot of work before she could turn around that idea of prosperity in our own life. So the law of prosperity, we have to believe that we're prosperous. We have to think of ourselves as prosperous. We have to expect to be prosperous. When we have prosperous thoughts, when we have prosperous beliefs, when we have prosperous reactions to the world, then prosperity will follow us. So, I also want to talk briefly about the idea of asking versus preparing. If one asks for prosperity, yet prepares for failure, you're going to get the situation that you've prepared for. And this is a quote out of the book. Let me read it more properly this time. If one asks for success and prepares for failure, you will get the situation that you've prepared for. So let's think about this for a minute. What's asking? Asking is usually kind of a wishful, hopeful thing, right? May I have a second helping? And your mom might say yes and might say no. May I please? You see, there's an element of pleading in it. That's very different than preparing for success. You will get the situation that you have prepared for. So if you want to have better finances, if you want to have success in business, you don't just wish for it, you don't just ask for it, you prepare for it. It might require taking some classes in business or in banking. It might require you to have a better understanding of how the stock market works or how the job you're in, what qualifies you for a greater level of success or a promotion or something like that. Planning for success will bring success, not just asking for it. And so, how do we plan for success? Well, I have some ideas. Back to the idea of clarity. We do have to have clarity on what we want. Is it actually a new promotion? Is it a new job? Let's not look just at one or two options. What would the ideal job would be like? And what clarity do you have around that? What would the ideal relationship be like? And do you have clarity around what that was? Not necessarily what you don't like about your partner, right? We're trying to get out of what we don't want and have a better understanding of what we do want. So what's the clarity around that? How do we want to be in relationship? How does success look like? What kind of relationship do we want with our children? What does better health actually feel like? If you're suffering from some kind of a chronic ailment, what does health feel like? Do you even remember? It might take some effort to have total clarity on what you want to achieve. Then we need to eliminate the contrary thoughts. We talked about that a little bit. Can you begin redirecting yourself? If you have some thoughts or some worry or some doubts, can you turn that around? Can you, in your mind, be saying, well, no, wait a minute. I know that the universe is infinite in nature. And so let me not worry about there not being enough. There's always enough. I just need to prepare for receiving enough. So we begin to build this foundation of our thinking around our goal. We start giving energy to it. We begin planning our life around seeing ourselves as successful in whatever it is we want success in, whether it is that relationship or a job or finances, education. It really can apply to health, to exercise, to anything in our lives. We begin giving energy to it. We begin seeing ourselves as successful and preparing for success. This year for Christmas, I got I'm not wearing it right now. Well, believe me, normally there's an Apple Watch on here. I'm having it recharged over there by the bed while the power is up. So I've been counting my rings. For those of you who aren't familiar with Apple Watches, they're a great help for fitness people. And there's 3 separate rings in there, one for being active, one for exercising, one for steps. And the idea is if you close all 3 rings every day, you start getting more healthy. And what I like about this is you build up to it, right? It sets you out on some fairly low levels of energy and exercise and that kind of thing. And then as you achieve more, you build yourself up. You begin planning for your success, right? You begin having that sense of, well, to close that exercise ring, I better put my coat on and go outside and get some extra exercise. And it gives you little rewards and things like that. And you're really putting energy into visualizing yourself successful. I'm going to close those rings every single day. And it's less about some, I don't know, New Year's resolution, say around losing 20 pounds, as it is a game, right? We've turned this, what could be difficult around becoming more energetic and losing weight and getting exercise, we're turning what could be a difficulty into a game. It's that game of life. So we visualize success, we talk about success, we can have witnesses towards our success. Now, a word of warning here. Sometimes even the people who love us don't necessarily see us being successful. So if you want to have a witness to your success, a cheerleading section, make sure that it's someone that will fulfill that role. So it might be a friend rather than a family member. It's fine to keep some of your goals to yourself because you don't need negative feedback when you're working towards a goal. So find a friend, but having a witness to our success and to our intentions can be a wonderful thing. Well, let's see. We've talked about a variety of things tonight. Let me summarize here and see where we are. First of all, we talked about whether your life is an engaging game or a colossal struggle. And the good news and the bad news is that it's up to you. I can't honeycoat that any more than it already is. If your life is a struggle, you're making it a struggle. If your life is a great success, if it feels more like a pleasurable game, you get the full credit for that. You get the full credit for your entire life. The good times and the troublesome times, it's how we perceive them. It's how we set ourselves up through our thinking, through our thoughts, and through our beliefs. We also talked about life being governed by spiritual laws. And when you know how the laws work, then success will come to you. And specifically, we talked about life responding to our thinking and our beliefs. And we talked a little bit about the law of prosperity. You'll get for what you're prepared to get, not what you ask for, but what you're prepared to get. We also talked about the basic rules and laws of what you want, to send clear messages to the divine and removing doubts and ideas to the contrary. And finally, we discussed more concretely the law of prosperity and how to win at that game. You will get what you are prepared to get. Now, I hope you don't mind. I don't know that this is something that Reverend Larry does a lot, but I do have some homework for you, so I hope you're up for it. I bet you have a good many ideas for improving your life. If you're like me, I look around me and there are always things that could be improved upon. Wouldn't it be lovely to get a raise at work? Wouldn't it be wonderful if the yard was in better shape or if you were in better health? I'm all for these. I'm the one that looks at those things. But what mental preparations have been made to accept this good? Say that one more time. You have many great ideas for improving your life, maybe even improving the world. But what mental preparations have you made to accept this good? Are you just asking for it? Or are you actually preparing for it? And so your homework is, and I hope you'll follow through, down on pen and pencil, write down a couple of things that you'd like to see improved in your life. It might be greater abundance. It might be a better job or a better relationship. It might be something simple like improving your environment, maybe reducing clutter or getting some yard work done so that your yard is in better shape. Then once you've picked just a couple of them, I think two will be plenty. Then begin underneath these two things to list some of the mental and physical preparations you can do to accept that good. So let me give you a couple examples. It's only fair since this is homework. Let's say you want to see more abundance in your life, more monetary abundance, more money, let's say. So, what mental preparations and what physical preparations have you made to accept this good? Have you met with a financial planner? Are you good at handling money? Is some of your money in investments? And do you understand how those investments work? It might require some education, some mental planning around being a better steward of your money. Maybe you make a good living, but it seems like the bills always outstrip what comes in. So perhaps having someone coaching you on understanding value added purchases to limit the number of just accidental purchases that you might make, that might be of help. See, there's many things you can do that will actually prepare you to be more successful or to prepare you to be more loving, to prepare you to be a better gardener or to use your time more wisely. And so, if we have these goals, these great ideas for improving our lives, we need to begin making steps for accepting this good. What mental and physical preparations have you made? So that's your homework for next week. Just take two areas in your life that you'd like to see improvement and write down some of the things that you can do for making mental and physical preparations. What steps can you make towards that goal? Well, I think it's time for a prayer. Reverend Larry asked me if I would do a closing prayer, and I think this is going to have to do with maybe not New Year's resolutions, but let's go back to this idea of just making improvements in our lives. Let's not set ourselves up for failure by thinking of it as a New Year's resolution. Instead, let us celebrate and anchor in some of our intentions for the good life. So let us pray. There is one power, one presence, one life, one goodness. There's only this one thing, and I call it God. And God shows up in my life in so many wonderful ways. It shows up as joy, it shows up as good health, it shows up as abundance and success. It shows up as, oh gosh, as so many things, as love, as peace. And so, for each one of us on this day, I ask us to focus in a little bit on one aspect of love that we would like to see enhanced, whether that be love or peace or joy or abundance. Let's each focus on that for just a moment and know that it is God's good pleasure to provide that for us, that with the clarity of our thoughts, God will respond. And so, right now, I'm anchoring in all of these thoughts that you're having, all of these intentions for this new year, knowing that you can accept them, knowing that you can prepare for them, knowing that as you prepare, as you visualize, as you accept, that it truly is done unto you as you believe. And so for this year, I am so very grateful for my many friends, everyone within the hearing of my voice, to achieve those goals, to have those intentions met with love, with ease, and with grace. And so, with a lot of love and gratitude, I release this prayer into the activity, into the action of the law itself. I let it be. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you so much for joining the nighttime edition of our Sunday experience. All of my love to Reverend Larry. So glad that she invited me to be with you today. Take care, everyone. All my love.